Paddington Bear stands as one of the most beloved and enduring children's characters of the last half-century. Created by author Michael Bond in 1958 in his debut novel A Bear Called Paddington, this young immigrant from darkest Peru has captured the hearts of millions and become an icon in his adopted homeland of England. From his dozens of children's books to multiple cartoon incarnations, the immigrant story of Paddington and the Brown family has been brought to life again and again, but it's their most recent live-action film series that brings new dimensions to their tale. Hitting theaters at the end of 2014 in Europe and the beginning of 2015 in the United States, the film adaptation of Michael Bond's classic book series is bursting with humor, heart, and wit. But it's the message at the center of the film that makes it not only an instant classic, but highlights Paddington as a character whose very nature is timeless and heartbreaking. That's because, at its core, Paddington's tale is about immigration and the love needed for those in search of a new home in a strange land. In both Paddington's original novels and his modern films, there are beautiful and life-affirming lessons to be learned from a little bear from darkest Peru looking for a new family in London. While it may seem strange that a sweet and lovable little bear like Paddington is not cared for immediately upon arrival, it's a moment based in magical realism that emphasizes his status as an illegal immigrant. And while Michael Bond's initial stories weren't directly focused on seeing how hard life could be for an immigrant, Paddington drew direct inspiration from the countless children that Bond saw coming to England during World War II. These young refugees brought along their few possessions in a suitcase with a note tied around their necks from their parents that couldn't come with them, pleading for someone to show them kindness and love when they themselves could not. Like the beginning of Bond's first novel, the film sees the young Peruvian bear arriving at London's Paddington Station with a note hanging from his neck inscribed with the simple and heartfelt plea, "Please look after this bear. Thank you." The note was written by his Aunt Lucy in the hopes that upon seeing the young bear, Londoners would show loving kindness and bring her nephew into a new family. While the message does get the Brown family to stop and help, it's the kindness of Mrs. Brown that allows Paddington into their home despite her husband's begrudging reservations. While it's the same idea that propels the Brown family to take in young Paddington in both the books and earlier animated adaptations, we experience a more contentious relationship at the start of the 2014 film. It's in the Brown family that we see two common sides at odds with one another in immigration issues the world over. Mrs. Brown sees a young Peruvian bear with nowhere to go and a reliance on the kindness of strangers to be safe. In return, she opens her house to help him until he finds a permanent home. Mr. Brown sees a stranger with a random sad backstory that may be a lie, who may endanger his wife and two children should he enter their home. In response, he is distant and seeks to send him somewhere else as soon as possible, wherever that may be.
What? Like an orphanage?
While Mr. Brown isn't inherently wrong with his concerns, Paddington's story illustrates that it's when these ideas become the default mindset of people everywhere that immigrants in need suffer. Like most stories with a message, this idea is translated into something fictional so that viewers can more readily accept it. Given enough time to understand Paddington, each of the family members' hearts melts at its own given pace.
I think every home should have a marmalade day.
And a bear.
Especially a bear. Home.
It's evident in Bond's stories and even more vivid in writer and director Paul King's film that the story of Paddington deals in magical realism, a type of storytelling that incorporates fantasy elements into an otherwise realistic setting. Here, the idea of a walking and talking bear is taken in stride and accepted by most everyone. There's only a slight degree of discomfort seen in some characters' initial interactions with Paddington, highlighting him as someone distinctly out of place, much like a refugee, but not in a fantastical sense.
Keep your eyes down, there's some sort of bear over there, probably selling something. Good evening. No, thank you.
When combined with other select moments of magical realism, these light touches bring a sense of wonder that allows the viewer to accept the narrative and its messages more easily than if they were ham-fistedly crammed into the story. King's film almost immediately establishes the fact that Paddington, his Aunt Lucy, and Uncle Pastuzo are happy and safe in Peru, where they live in a bright and lovely treehouse making marmalade. Yes, they dream of one day visiting the fabled land called London, due to their friendship with a British explorer that once visited them.
This is London. That's where I'm from.
London.
Good Lord. Now try Stratford-upon-Avon.
But there is no need to leave their home. But all of that is ripped away by a devastating earthquake that destroys their house and ends the life of Uncle Pastuzo.
Aunt Lucy.
Left without her husband and her home, the elderly Aunt Lucy simply cannot take care of Paddington anymore. There's nothing innately wrong with Peru, but brutal and uncontrollable circumstances have made it unlivable. This small expansion of Paddington's backstory grounds the character in relatable loss that has a sobering and heart-wrenching counterbalance to the lighthearted hijinks that are seen throughout the rest of the movie. While placing him as a stowaway on a boat headed to London, Aunt Lucy tells Paddington a memory that echoes Bond's experience.
There was once a war in the explorer's country. Thousands of children were sent away for safety, left at railway stations with labels around their necks, and unknown families took them in and loved them like their own. They will not have forgotten how to treat a stranger.
Juxtaposed with the way Paddington is immediately snubbed by every passing stranger at the Paddington train station, it is clear that things have drastically changed in the modern perception of immigrants. Like many immigrants of both years past and today, Paddington believes that London will be everything he hoped and dreamed it would be, but is soon met with a much harsher reality. If there is a single scene that perfectly encapsulates the many emotions and ideas present in the story of Paddington, it is in one that has no need for words. Having discovered the hidden film of the explorer that visited his aunt and uncle, Paddington and the Browns see footage of the young bear's old home. In a metaphorical moment of magic, Paddington walks through the black and white screen and into the vividly colored world of darkest Peru, where his far-off aunt and uncle greet him. Still searching for his place in a strange city, Paddington longs for his happy life in Peru, which he may never be able to get back to. This moment shows that even when London has become his new home and the Browns made into his new family, Peru and his aunt and uncle still have an unmovable place in Paddington's heart. Paddington also finds relatability in the kindly Mr. Gruber, who is an immigrant in London, having arrived as a young boy. When the young bear asks him how he found a home, Mr. Gruber responds,
My body had traveled very fast, but my heart, she took a little longer to arrive.
Opposed to the difficulty in transitioning to a new country is how well Paddington actually fits into London. While he has a steep learning curve to overcome upon arrival that frequently results in chaos, no one seems to have a shocked reaction at seeing a walking and talking bear roaming the streets, all because of King's graceful use of magical realism. He is, however, met by the xenophobic Mr. Curry and the hostile Millicent, who uses the fear of outsiders to get Curry to stop being only rude and start plotting against the young bear. When these issues are put to an end, the magic and wonder of London opens itself up to Paddington. It's in these moments that England takes its place as the new home of the little bear and real happiness floods in unabated. While half of Paddington's immigration quest deals with him finding a place in a new country, the other half focuses on finding a new family. It's the love and acceptance of the Brown family that turns London into Paddington's home. What's truly uplifting is that we see it isn't just Paddington's life that is made better by being accepted. It's that everyone's lives are improved by Paddington. By accepting Paddington as family, each member of the Browns learns to understand the differences in one another and within themselves. Just as importantly, there is no need for Paddington to change who he is at his core in order to fit in with the Browns or London as a whole. He has innate worth, and his differences bring something special to his surroundings. Having people who believe in him and recognize that worth allows Paddington to more fully express that. Overwhelming sadness can keep us from fulfilling our true potential, but real joy encourages us to embrace the best parts of ourselves and accept who we are as people. A loving and supportive family is the key to every person's healthy and happy development. It's all summed up beautifully as Paddington, now a member of the family and settling into his life in London, writes to his Aunt Lucy to share the good news with her.
Mrs. Brown says that in London, everyone is different. But that means anyone can fit in. I think she must be right, because although I don't look like anyone else, I really do feel at home. I will never be like other people, but that's all right, because I'm a bear. A bear called Paddington.
Come on, Paddington!
Both Bond's novels and King's films may be simple, silly stories, but the adventures of Paddington Brown tell their morals in a way that many far more serious and heavy-handed films often falter in doing. The idea that home can be anywhere in the world, as long as people open up their hearts and minds to those in need of kindness, is a lesson always in need of being learned. As has been seen for many years now, a lovable and smart little bear from Peru named Paddington can show generations what is truly important in life.